We all need.
I think August.
2 months. I'm well. Just check. Multiple signs up for doors.
You're good to go, Al.
We have a quorum, just the people that vote on it have to be the people that were in the last meeting. So yes, we can still vote on it. We have a quorum. We're gonna, and if we say we can't, we're gonna. Are you ready? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're gonna call the meeting to order and we're gonna approve the minutes. I sent the minutes out late, sorry about that, guys. I just have one thing that I have to say. Keely, I've already spoken to you about that. It's on page 3. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs down, and it's dog fighting instead of biting with an F. Fighting. I hope it wouldn't take a huge amount of dogs coming in for a bite. Dog fighting. That's all that I had to correct. I'll give everybody a chance to read them because I was like, can everyone hear, or can you guys hear? Are we speaking loud enough?
Keely, is there any way you could put more pictures?
I'd love to use pictures, trust me.
Yes, it is good that we're reading in a library.
Alright, do I have a motion to accept the minutes with a correction?
Do you want a motion?
I'll motion. And all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is a animal services report, Emily. We speak, come by, say that. Sorry, guys, thanks for your patience. I'm just gonna order this for my first meeting.
When they sit up there, do we need a Bible and they have to take it over?
I'll do this.
Is it okay to get started?
Yes,
All right. So we're gonna look at statistics on the month for dog, cat intake, euthanasia, and return to owner. I'll start with dogs. Our overall without adjustments euthanasia rate for dogs during the month of April was 10.69%, which was remarkably low considering. And it looks like we have about 12 of those were dangerous dogs, 18 were KDA, and 8 were Mercy, which was about 38 of those outside our control. Our return to owner rate, however, was some of the highest that it's ever been, which is really great. It was for April at 29.45%. The previous month was 35.24%. Hope to exceed both of those going forward. We're really working on some additional efforts in the shelter to improve return to owners. This is again highest that they've seen in decades, and we'll continue to work on these numbers.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Is part of the reason you think maybe that the return to owners could be the chipping that they're doing? Is that helping them
I'm
get?
sure that work is helping. Always microchipping animals makes a big difference. I think that the addition of the Facebook page, as well as some changes Chris has made since he's got back on trying to increase fees, work with owners, trying to get officers to really work in the field to get the animals back to the owners before they come to the shelter has also made a difference.
I know I had someone that said they did that. They were very pleased that the dog was returned to them. They got a ticket for the dog was returned to them.
Yeah. If we can keep them in a shelter with their owners, that's ideal. So for cats, we had 22 euthanasias under KDA and 25 for Mercy. Those are unfortunately high, but URI and neonates continue to be an issue. We are working on trying to solution side some of that, but it's just unfortunate reality.
And also under a pound.
Right, neonates would be kids that are under 4 weeks of age. For our overall euthanasia rate after adjustments, for April it was 1.08%. And then we'll move on to bites and tax. Yeah, absolutely. So for bites and tax stacks, you have the full bite reports in front of you, but for your awareness, the bites that
Oh, you're gonna do that, okay, fine. I have all these pages, and I thought, wait a minute, okay, now, right. Great.
So the bites and attacks that were reported to us back in 2021, we ran in the late 900s, but in the last 2 years, we're up roughly 40% to date. For this year, we're at 402 bites and attacks, which is trending to end about 1,200 bites and attacks for the year. We're being told that this is on track. Yes, ma'am.
I just don't know where you are.
We are lost.
Would you just help us by telling us the page number or
Absolutely.
something like that?
Thanks. So you're going to be actually looking at a report that looks like this.
And which page?
Oh, yes, one of 3 out of that pack.
I think it's the last.
1 of 3. It says 25, 25, 25.
I don't
This is
see
district.
Yeah, I don't see.
This is why, so I'm just speking to you, I didn't provide the overall years by year.
It's on
but I
the
can
last
offer
page,
this to you
it's on
if
this
you'd like.
last page of this.
Hold on.
She's comparing.
I'm kind of summarizing and just giving you a general overview, but if you want, I can give you the years.
It'd be better if you-
I'm just lost and needing to understand where I should be.
Yeah.
Usually there's
So,
several.
page, my understanding is page 2 and 3 is by district. And then we've got the totals that are on page 3 and 3. And so on, at the very bottom of page 3 in the right hand corner is total bites and attacks, which is what I'm kind of talking about, is 402. Got it for the year. And, I'm sorry, Ellen, what did you say we usually what?
No, that's fine. Okay. Usually you just don't.
Oh, you report by district?
But that's okay. You do it. I don't. That's how you speak. No problems. We can
Whatever
do
you
it.
guys need.
No problems, no problems.
Is it okay? Christine?
Yes, oh, yes, okay.
So essentially what I'm saying is that this year also, as opposed to also being above higher last year and the year before, we're still trending to hit those higher numbers on dog bites and attacks. Did you have another question, Susan?
My question is, these are by district. I don't know which district.
The 1 through 6.
I see. Okay, I got it. Just need a little more time to.
And it's also divided,
Appreciate it.
Susan, it's also divided by just dangerous dogs.
Yes, I
okay?
see. Yes.
And then also pit bulls. Okay?
Yes.
These are separate. And attacks.
So there is no, I'm editing here, right? But it is not clear that those numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 refer to district.
Okay.
So that would be a nice thing to add. Okay, thank you.
And, just as I'm also learning these numbers and the formats, if you ever want to bring that as part of the meeting, or if you guys individually want to come by, we can review the stats and how they locations as well. Of course. Okay, so the stats are essentially quite a bit higher over the last couple of years. Likely, from what we're understanding from some of our national partners, is that this is kind of a national trend that is going along with overpopulation. And respectively, we're gonna see our dangerous dog determinations go up. A lot of this, the dangerous dogs, bites and attacks have to do with the overpopulation, which we're still seeing resulting effects from COVID when surgeries were performed for about a year. And then there was a delay in spaying surgeries, overpopulation increases, which then can by result increase bites, attacks, and such. But respectively, as best we can. Any questions on that? I have one more thing I'd like to talk about. Oh, okay. So I have another announcement to make that's in regards to, we're gonna have reduced capacity essentially over about the next 4 to 6 months. So we have to undergo some kennel maintenance situations to remain in compliance with the KPA
I'm just gonna say, can you guys hear?
I can't hear, I haven't heard a word you said all
That's
night.
what I was saying.
I can't hear one word.
Just speak up, the microphone, speak up.
Yeah,
Well, it's not there.
I was just gonna say when she stopped that I can't hear you.
Oh,
I think
I'll
speak
just-
up,
I can
because I think
project.
they're gonna, I think they wanna do this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, look over here.
Would it be
But
okay?
yeah,
if I
when you face that way away from, you know,
No, if you
then
just
your
speak up
voice
louder.
clear.
I'll just okay, so over the next couple months, we're gonna have a reduced kennel capacity in dogs of about 20 kennels on rolling average. Like I said, for the next about 4 to 6 months, we're required to do some kennel maintenance. And that will mean that we'll be closing kennels by 2 hallways at a time. So we'll start with A, B, and then go respectively down. And this kennel maintenance takes about a week and a half for us to maintain, before we get to the next kennel. And so essentially that will reduce our overall dog capacity by about 20 animals, 20 dog kennels. And if we're lucky and we go along with the contractors and everything we need to do, we could wrap up within about 4 months. But if there's any hiccups with the contractor, large confiscation cases, situations like that, it could be delayed by a couple of weeks. So we're trying to work within that next 4 to 6 time period. With the limited space, our shelter, we're gonna just stay true to our shelter's core mission, which is gonna be just focus on our intake for lost, found, stray, dangerous, these confiscations. But our overall length of stay for dogs, well, not cats, sorry, but dogs especially, because the cats are affected during this, is going to be reduced to probably about 5 days. And so that's still going to be legally within whatever the stray hold requirements are, and then an additional 24 to 48 hours for us to try to find additional placement. And so we're working on various solutions and ideas. We're totally open to if anybody else has suggestions. But anything that we can do that, like I said, can increase our efforts to locate and the owners, reunite pets with their lost owners while they're there. We'll be reducing reclaim fees where possible to facilitate owners reclaiming their animals. Of course, partnering with our rescues. Oh yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
I give up, I mean, I've given up trying to hear what she
I'll
says.
also be talking about this tomorrow morning at the mayor's meeting. So
This is KDA mandated.
yeah, and so
Yes.
I'll just start from the beginning one more time, because since I trailed off and
Do we not have a microphone?
It's all the ceiling.
sure, can I just put this part?
Maybe if she's
Right, and for just for this part, can I?
Have a
face this?
volume or?
I don't.
Emily, I would
Speak
suggest you
somewhere.
probably sit in
Yes, speak
one of those
this way,
chairs.
yeah.
Okay, just for this part, I'll just
That'd be
come
good.
join you guys.
Okay, that'd be good.
I could give you 10 fingers, get you up higher to the mics.
I'm old,
I
I get it.
I tend to start to mumble when I'm reading my notes as well, so I apologize about that, everybody. I just wanna make sure that you can hear me. So for dog capacity, we're gonna be reduced by about 20 kennels, which is 2 hallways for kennel maintenance. And so this is required kennel maintenance by the KDA that we have to complete. We've got 6 months to complete it essentially. And because of the contractor and the requirements of the product, how long it takes to cure, each hallway essentially, while we do the maintenance on, will be closed for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. Depends how long it takes us to move the animals, if there's any other complications while we're doing it with the product and cleaning, etc. But the big point of this is that we'll be diminished capacity for about 20 kennels for 4 to 6 months. And so that means that we very diligently need to stay on top of every dog that comes into the shelter. How can we reunite it back with its owner? How can we, whatever means does that mean, whether that's through dangerous dog efforts, working with our rescue partners to try to, or other community partners, to try to help people come into compliance, reducing fees as we can, working with our rescue and shelter partners to see how can we find new homes for the animals, how can we find temporary placement for them. And like I said, this actually only affects dogs. We're thankfully on low numbers in cats. We'll all knock on wood for that one for right now. But yeah, just anything that we can do. Our staff is going to try to stay on top of this as best as we can, because we really want to see how we can focus on positive outcomes and life outcomes as much as possible.
I have a question.
Yes,
Okay, this situation that you're talking about has been around since the beginning of the shelter, which is 18 years, 18 years per cell, isn't it?
I think we.
2008.
8 or 9, yeah.
2008.
16?
Anyhow, it's never been a problem until now, and I would think that, have you asked them to say, why are you doing this at the top of the heat of the season, where we're gonna have more dogs coming in than we ever have? And I would say, maybe the board of directors needs to talk about this and say, hey, can we make a motion of some sort to say, postpone this until the winter, when we don't have as many animals, because I think this is really a very serious thing, and for it to all of a sudden pop up right now, after all these years of being inspected, and it's never been a problem, and now it's a problem, that they should not be telling you that you gotta close down kennels. And so I think that we, as a board, need to do something about that. I don't know quite what we can do. I know that, the city, I don't know, they wanna go into any issues, but I think as a board, advisory board, I wonder if we can write a letter to Sasha and say, why are you doing this when it's in the middle of the highest numbers of dogs coming in? And would you please postpone this until starting in November? It's not gonna change anything. It's been doing this way all this time. All this time, they never thought it was a problem, okay, till now. Yeah. What does everyone else think?
Well, and Ellen, I'd like to just add, say amen.
Go ahead.
Who will we send in it? You said something
The
about the,
Sasha Thompson, it's AV, no, KD, it's not KD, it's AFI, it's AFI. And they have
Those
literally.
letters, the
Huh?
ADA.
That's the Animal Facilities Inspector, and that's the state of Kansas. But they run under the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and that's the Kansas Department of Agriculture. And I think that I'm sorry, I think this is totally unacceptable for them to pull this on at the heat of the time. It's been going on, they've been walking through and inspecting you guys all this time, and all of a sudden, boom, oh, that needs to be fixed.
I was able to negotiate an extension for at least 6 months, but I'm not opposed to continuing conversations with them to see if we can do it further, so that I was trying to effectively space it out as much as possible, so I would reduce the impact of the dogs as often, but whatever you guys want to do is.
I mean, I feel that it's worth addressing it to them and saying, hey, this is not acceptable, this is not the time that you have to show this. And so, I don't know how to do that, because we're not really an advisory board to the state, but we do have, and we can't, and we usually just advise to the police department, and the police department probably doesn't want to get involved in it, but I think a letter from the advisory board drafted, asking them to explain why this is so important right now, when it's been 18 years or so with no issues with this, and to have it that they should be given an extension not to start this until the time when we have not so many animals coming in. So I'll make a motion. I guess I can make a motion. I move that and I always mess up my motions. I move that the advisory board put together a letter to go to Sasha Thompson, who is the head of AFI, asking her to delay this particular change due to the numbers of dogs that may have to be euthanized, which will increase and cause more issues. All those in favor? Aye? Okay, we'll do that. And it'll go directly to AFI. So we'll get it all. We may have
to talk to law.
Pardon?
We have to talk to law to make sure.
I don't think so, because, even if we can't come from the advisory board, it can come from individuals who are all on the advisory board. We can figure out how to word it, but I think this is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
So I've been meeting with the contractor and was able to delay start to the end of next week.
I couldn't hear you.
I did, talking too quietly, guys. This isn't normally my problem. I spoke with the contractor to try to delay start by the end of next week, just because we are very full and we're trying to network the dogs that we have currently. So if we think that this might, if just stay in communication with me about the timeline and when you think the letter's gonna go, and I stay in communication with the KDA, so if we are granted and further extension, then we can make sure that we're not, we can make the appropriate changes.
Okay, what we can do is, because we can't.
It's gonna have to happen pretty fast.
I know, it's gonna have to happen pretty fast.
Because the contractors have deadlines and stuff.
Okay, so, can we, at the end of this meeting, all get together and people can still hit, we won't end it, but we can draft it, it's a real simple letter, we can all draft it together.
No, you're violating coma at that point.
No, we won't end the meeting.
You are, because you're concluding your meeting.
Pardon?
You're concluding your meeting, therefore, if you
No,
guys stay,
okay, I'm gonna extend the meeting, okay, at the end of the meeting, and we'll talk about the issues.
We can, it can go right under board.
It's gonna go
issues
right
on
under
any
board
issues
issues.
or
Yes,
concerns.
okay, we'll put it there, we're not gonna.
Okay.
We'll get that.
Can they work on the draft electronically?
they can, however, it has to be individual persons sending it directly to Ellen. And then Ellen sending it directly back to that person. But if you have more than 4 people part of any sort of communication, you're violating coma. So you can't conclude the meeting and continue to stay and continue to discuss what you guys are wanting to write.
I thought, I'm sorry, I didn't mean we're gonna close it and they have to leave.
Okay.
I just meant that after the end of the meeting that we have on our agendas it is, but we're gonna add that to
As
our.
long as your meeting remains open
Yes,
and
yes,
you
yes.
motion to extend time, that's totally fine.
Yeah, we're gonna end it on the agenda.
On the issues and updates, we can address. them.
Absolutely, as long as you have not concluded your meeting.
Am I under the assumption that Emily can't ask them for 6 months pause until October or something before they start whatever they're doing?
I'm not sure if I have that authority, but I can check plans.
If they'll wait till October, then that would be the
October.
slower
Captain
season.
Purcell,
Yes.
that usually doesn't work, does it? Have you guys tried that? I mean, why,
They did grant the extension.
Yeah, they granted the 6-month extension.
To be done.
Yeah, to
yeah,
get
but
that.
that's, the 6 months includes a very high population of dogs, Mr. Walker.
So we were hit with a similar thing in July or August last year. We applied for the 6-month extension. We were told that if the work was not completed within 6 months satisfactorily, we would not be able to house any animals in any area that was not completed until it was finished. There was no, if the work takes 6 to 8 months, you have 6 months to finish the work. I'm not saying that that will happen in this case, but that was what was communicated to us with the potential for licensure revocation, I guess would be the right word, if the work was not completed and seen satisfactorily completed within the 6-month time frame. We were told there were no extensions beyond 6 months. So just sharing, no, 100%, I would send the letter. We did the exact same thing. I just wanted to share that.
Okay,
that
thank you, thank you. Okay,
Any more questions for me on that?
no, we'll continue this discussion at not the end of the meeting, but during the issues and updates, okay? We're gonna add that.
And outside of that, my only comment to the board is that we are still in need of dog treats and dishwasher safe cat and dog toys, so please continue to help us spread the word.
Have you put that on the shelter Facebook page?
Yes, and we'll continue to promote it.
Are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. I know that, on a couple of social media posts the other day, you said you had 21 dogs to euthanize, and I know you were trying to put out a last minute. How did that go?
It's going. I'm working on it. Like I said, the imminent closure of these 2 kennels is making it a bit more difficult because typically where I would try to make as many extensions as I could where it could, we just have limited space. So we have been able to find placement and some reunification. We have had some direct adopts, and those that are still available for direct adoption that are past their deadline are on our Facebook page right now. I believe, if I remember from and I'll go double check my number of my report, I think that I have 8 left.
Out of the 21.
Yes. And then all the fun ones that just keep coming.
Do you know the average length of stay? Those were thought to-
Cutie cup, so they can.
Oh,
we
do
got
you know
you.
the average length of
Yes.
stay?
Typically, I didn't calculate those specifically, but I can. If my memory serves me with looking at each dog, it's about 2 weeks. Sometimes longer, just depending on the dog. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
absolutely.
Next up is our public comments, okay? The first person on public is Jeanette Peterson.
Just come down here so they can hear.
No, you're speaking to the board.
Okay. I will just talk really loud,
That's a good
which
thing.
I can be loud. Okay. I came to talk tonight about the image of the shelter and how it relates to WPD. This is based on what I have found the last couple of months as I've been researching and what's been online and stuff. But I will say I am meeting with Mrs. Hurst on Friday to have a tour of the shelter and learn more of that. But the fact of the matter is most of the people in our community are not gonna go to that extent. So this is what kind of the community's outlook of the shelter is. Also, I don't think anyone in this room thinks we are going to save every animal, but it's the attitude and actions of the shelter that people have a problem with. On the website, under image of the shelter, it states the Wichita Police Department's mission is working in partnership with our community to deliver exceptional police services with professional and fairness. Our core values are integrity, trust, ethical conduct, professionalism, and teamwork. The last 2 months, everywhere I've gone, I've asked people their thoughts about the shelter and read what has been posted to social media. Not many people would agree that these values are working with the community are being met. The shelter is known as the death chamber, and many times a comment has been made if BTK's cousin is running the shelter. I don't care how you want to adjust the numbers or who you want to blame, but the fact is somewhere around 26% of the animals that enter that building don't come out. People in this room, okay, never mind. Sorry, skip that part. Last meeting, we listened to Mr. Purcell for 7 minutes and 19 seconds explain the 75% rule. However, we kill one only at 30%. It is amazing that other places in Kansas have been able to figure out how to work around KDA and keep animals healthy and be able to be saved, yet our shelter continues to just kill, kill, kill. In the 2018 survey, when asked the most important pressing issue for animal control, the most important issue was When asked the most pressing issue for animal control to improve, 48% said the euthanization rate. And when asked if the animals received adequate care, only 19% said yes. That was a while ago. So I decided to ask on social media what people today think of the shelter. And I don't have time to read all the comments, but I will say good comments I have ever read online about the shelter could be counted on my hands. My whole life I have supported the police department. Even when in my hometown, our ex-sheriff held our elementary school hostage and bombed it. I have friends that are police officers, some that are on WPD. My son will complete his degree in 3 months in criminal justice. But at lunch the other day, I was with my husband and 3 officers walked in, and for the first time in my life, I felt disgusted and just got a sick feeling in my stomach. I mentioned to my husband, I wondered if they were a part of the shelter. Because of my son, I will always support the police. But what about someone that doesn't have that connection? My son is not even an officer yet, but he has been told by multiple people, I hope you get shot in the face. Please have a hard enough time with the public opinion without the shelter making it worse. The community wants things to change, especially for changes that have been promised, and it is our tax dollars that run the shelter. It's time to step up and make how animals are treated in Wichita something everyone can be proud of. We need our shelter to be a place that is working with the community, not against it. We should have volunteers in there daily, making it a better place for animals, but also helping the workers. Even high-kill shelters in Texas and California have volunteer programs. In the board training that you took, it states the board was enacted for the public benefit and therefore is constructed broadly in favor of the public. So since the board represents the community, we should be working together instead of someone voicing a concern and the board then saying why they are wrong. We need to be coming up with solutions and ideas to pass on to leadership. There are many people in the community that have a lot of knowledge to pull from. I am still new and I am learning, but from what I have learned so far, I have a lot of concerns. Improving the relationship between the shelter and the community is a good place to start. It would not only improve the care for the animals, but also how people view and respect the WPP. Thanks.
Did a good job.
Sorry, I'm shaking. It didn't help I was late. Sorry I was late.
Okay, first of all, the reference to eating a cousin, my late cousin helped catch that.
Yeah, oh, I agree.
No, I don't ever want to hear a comparison of the shelter to that man. There is no comparison.
I was reading what was written online.
Well, and that's the second thing, is what is written online is what is making the image. That doesn't mean it's true.
I'm not saying it's true.
It's
I
my
am-
talk.
okay.
It's my-
Wait, she asked.
First of all, the first thing I'm gonna point out is the mayor at her weekly briefings, media briefings, now has an animal that they bring, talk about. Every one of them has been adopted or rescued. What does the social media say? It's a publicity stunt. That's on you guys. It's a publicity stunt. I will sit here and challenge the mayor and everyone on the council that if they have an event they need a publicity stunt on, call Emily. I'm sure she'll be happy to get some focus on one or two more animals.
Oh, sure.
The second thing I have is that there are rescue teams. There are 2 members from WAS and 2 from KHS to market the animals to rescue through Facebook, Trello, and direct contact to the rescues. Videos are made to give rescues a convenient, quick overview of the animal's behavior. The video, along with pictures and information, is sent to the rescue partners. Recently, a non-partner rescue posted the video, pictures, and info on their Facebook with the following comments.
We never work when you want them to.
The first thing they did was ask for donations. They're not a partner with WAS or KHS. Final days being spent in gut-wrenching fear. This boy hasn't had a chance since the moment he walked into the building. He came in terrified on intake and was immediately taken to a restricted hall in the very back of the building. This hall is inaccessible to the public and not a hall that is supposed to be used for strays. This dog had a behavior problem. They do not put behavior problem dogs in a public hall. He has spent the last week trembling in fear, alone in a locked hall with no visitors. He's visited every day by staff members and they work with him. And without even a chance to go outside to potty. The dogs don't go outside to potty. It's stuff like this that makes the image, and it's a false image a lot of the times. And I know Ellen and I have both posted the truth. There was one person who put, oh my God, this dog's gonna be dead in 3 days, let's help it. I looked at the information, the dog was on day 1 of the stray hold. I verified the information with the supervisor the next day. He confirmed what I thought, and I posted it. Here's the truth. It was taken down within 20 minutes.
Okay, well, I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying, as someone in public, I've tried to go on and look at where the shelter has the dogs listed. I can't find, so as a person just in the shelter, I'm not saying that these are right. That's why I'm going to meet with
That's
Emily.
why
But I'm just saying we
we
need to
have
do
the image
something.
we have is because of social media.
Yeah, and we need to do
Yes.
something about
Well, we can't control what people say on social media. Because
No.
when we try and put the truth in there, it doesn't fit their agenda and it is deleted. So I know you're new, so you need to watch that. You wanna be positive, don't be negative on social media. If you actually have an idea, email Emily, email a board member.
I have been emailing Emily.
One of the things that I see, and I agree with everything she said, is very frustrating. Because I see posts on there that are not true, and when I correct them, I've corrected too many that they've now banned me from going on their page. I can't comment, I can't even see the page, okay? So that is not very well that's not
It's
good
not
transparency, okay?
No.
Because in many cases, when I read something and a friend of mine reads it, and I explain to them what the situation is, they go, oh, Well, that's not what I thought. So I think that our image could take a very, very good positive view when you don't end up with something like that. That's, oh my God, the dog's in fear, because they're not in fear, okay? Some of them are, but they're not treated poorly, okay? They're not treated
Some of them
poorly.
are in here, because I'm
Yes, they
scary to
are.
them.
Yes, they are, but they are not treated poorly. Okay, so what is the option to doing this? Is the option to just turn the dog loose and not bring it to the animal shelter?
No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is we need to do stuff that
Then what do you suggest?
I suggest we do stuff that tells people what's going on. It is so confusing. You know how many people I've talked to, and I've lived here 23 years, and until 2 months ago, I didn't even know that KHS and Wichita Animal Shelter were two different things. Everybody I talk to says they just lump them all together and that.
Well, that's their problem for not investigating and
Well, but
researching.
that's just
Yeah,
what
you
people
can
hear.
only post so many times.
Well, maybe you have
You can go online
events.
to the Wichita Animal Services on the Wichita.
I made a suggestion. I'm gonna have Emily look at how she can explain what's going on and why certain things happen. And she is able to post on a regular basis on any of the social medias there. And that she is able to not be banned, okay, when it doesn't fit the I need money because of this, I need money because of this, you gotta send money because of this, okay? And they're bad because the dogs are terrified, they're not being taken care of. I suggest that you not ban people when they say, no, I'm sorry, this dog, such as the mother dog with her 13 puppies that was gonna die on Mother's Day. And she was not going to die on Mother's Day. That was the day. So how can we put this mother dog, these 13 puppies to sleep on Mother's Day? That's terrible. That was totally false. The dog was not on the euthanasia list. The dog had a tag on the rescue tag. They just hadn't been taken care of. And the dogs left. They did not die on Mother's Day. And so when you do that, when you guys pull, you're not really helping anything. You're harming the situation. You're harming it. There are things, and so if you guys are willing, if you want the image to be improved, let the people that are dealing with them talk. Let them put on posts. You just said, let them understand, hey, this is, they're two different things, and then be transparent with your posts. Okay, now one of them, so I think that would be a very good thing, okay? But for someone to say yes, and I'm sorry, for someone to, and I would go on and I would say, okay, now wait a minute, let's think about this thing, let's take a different look at this. Man, that was taken off and I'm never ever allowed to go on that page again, okay? So that's part of the reason that we have a bad image.
And quite frankly, I don't even know what rescues can or cannot. Like, I have not been able to find that information yet. That's one of the questions I'm going to have for Emily on Friday. Is that's why I said I have a lot of questions. So I'm willing to go make the appointment.
I'm so
and
glad
do
you know, because I think that there's a lot of people that I've invited to go speak with them and they refuse to do it. I had one person, I said, hey, look, you were hearing from social media. I would like you to come in and speak with the shelter manager. I had set up an appointment for that person to speak to the shelter manager. And I said, hey, remember our meeting on Monday? I said, don't forget. Oh no, I've been told I'm not supposed to talk to him. Okay, so it's a situation where you want to fix something, but yet you're putting it only on your side, and you don't show the other side of what's going on with the shelter. So that's all I have to say.
I just want to put your mind at ease. If you ever see 3 police officers, again, don't think negatively of the animal shelter. There is 1 police officer, and that's Captain Purcell, at the whole animal shelter. So there's never going to be 3 there from the animal shelter. There's only 1 assigned to the whole animal shelter. I want to put your mind at ease.
My son, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, my son's gonna be a police officer, and that's why I have to concern. Cause I've got I told him not to apply in Wichita. Because if that's the people I'm hearing over here are saying we judge the Wichita Police Department, my son has a hard enough time.
You need to listen to some different people. I
Well,
can tell you
and
that.
I've asked people in my desk, I've just asked random people, cause I just wanted to get an idea of what the random people were. So I asked people in Walmart, I asked people in my dentist's office, I asked people, my waitress, I've asked just to get a random, what people thought out there. And I'm just letting you know what they think, and maybe as a board representing us, I thought maybe you guys can help us come up with something.
So my question is, did they give you any suggestions?
No,
as
but I
to
will
what
ask
to
them
do?
next time.
What were the suggestions, and ask them where they got their information.
Cause I mean,
And
for the information, that's how I've been able to find, and so we need a lot more good information out there. That's easy for people to find,
You
'cause,
can go on the police department and find out lots.
I have everything printed up, there's in that folder back there.
No, I'm talking about the police in general.
Yeah.
They have their,
Oh, I have a folder
I'm
full
sorry
of
that
most
we
everything I
didn't mean to
found.
attack you, I'm sorry, but you asked us and one
it's
of the
very
things.
frustrating to, you wanna talk about social, I had a friend that said POS animal shelter in Captain Purcell. And she professes to be a Christian, and I'm like, you don't call somebody that. How many people, I hope karma gets you, I hope they euthanize you like they euthanize the dogs, I hope you burn in hell, I mean, keep reading.
And so
So-
what I'm asking is that there be fair social media, okay, fair
Yeah.
social media.
Well, I
on
just
both-
think if there's a lot more information that maybe Emily can put out there,
Well,
that's not,
You need to list what information,
because all I saw was, I did see one little post, well, like I said, the up-to-date thing on the board's website is the 2018 survey. That was the last time I surveyed, and that's on the board site or on Wichita site, on the shelter
but
site.
that's up to the city. We don't-
And so I don't know who runs the sites, but there's
Okay,
very
what do you
little
say?
information on the site.
I would say in 2018, what, statistics, is that what it
It was
says?
a survey that was sent out to
There's
people.
some old stuff on the web.
And it's very old and outdated, and so that's all I could find, that's the statistics I could find. The statistics for what's going on at the shelter is 2024, is the only thing we can find. Statistics of what is happening at the shelter. So as a person, when I see that, I go, okay, what are they hiding? Now, granted, that's just human nature, that's our human nature to go, okay, if they can't produce what they're showing, then what are they hiding?
Well, every month, every meeting time we have this.
We don't have a copy of that.
But it's.
I
it's
cannot-
just-
But it's on, it's the minutes, Keely, don't you post this on our agenda, on our minutes and stuff?
What is that?
It's
This
the
is the-
animal shelter.
What,
Yeah, actually, yeah, I've gotten access now to Captain Purcell's
Okay.
numbers, so as soon as he updates for the previous month and I have that information, I'm now going in and posting it. I even have it set on my calendar as a reminder for a specific day.
Okay, cause the
So-
last
And
time
it
I
just
looked,
goes
only 2024 was on there.
What's that?
The last time I looked, only 2024 was on there.
Yeah, I posted up to, I wanna say either February or March of 25, and that was within the last week or two, so.
And I'll just let you guys know, so I've been working with the, oh, yes, speaking of, I'll let you know that I've been working with the website team, which is, you know, part of Wichita, City of Wichita Central Services, to get our stats posted on our webpage, not just the Animal Advisory Service webpage every month. And we just had some technical difficulties over the last couple of weeks, but I think that they have it posted up there now. And we're also working on building a different marketing plan, or I should say more public relations plan, to just increase transparency, increase the amount of information that we have going out there so that we can share that. And we'll talk about that more on Friday, but just so you guys are aware.
Yeah, that's good, because
That's
yeah,
good.
it's like
And-
finding stuff.
Yes, and I think if you do that again, I think you should ask the people what should be done with the extra animals that we have a lot of extra animals, what should be done with dogs that maybe are not able to go as a companion dog. And I think that would be a good thing we've done more work on so far.
Well, and once I ask those questions and know the answers to them, I can educate
I'm glad
people.
that you're meeting with.
Yeah, we tried to get it done, but I had to go out of town for my kids' graduation. So-
You know, anyone that has questions before they come to our board, I think that they should go to a supervisor, and I think they're always open to see it, to talk to.
And you can always email us if
Oh, I have.
we're in your district.
I've emailed Ellen.
Yeah.
I've been emailing Ellen and I've been emailing. And I've emailed Captain Purcell. I did not get that answer from him,
And-
but
and-
I did email him.
So, and I think that, like I said, you should get information from both sides, not just from.
Well, and I had hoped to meet with Emily before this, but like I said, I had to go to Utah
Glad
to
you
meet
meet.
to my kids' graduation, so this was just the perspective of what is out there now. And we need to get different information out there, so
That's good. I'm glad you didn't serve it, so say you have to.
Well, and like I said, I told everybody when I did it, I asked and I said, and any opinion is welcome, like good, I didn't put it down asking for any negative opinion or positive opinion or anything like that, but finding positive stuff out there is very hard.
Yeah, I think that it is frustrating when something is viewed as very, very terrible. That is, in case like the neonatals, killing the baby kittens. Well, KDA says they cannot leave the shelter. They have to stay there. They don't have appropriate care, and they're going to suffer. And so what they do is emergency care. And so that's why they put those in. And I know that we're trying and stop it.
Okay. I understand. The normal citizen doesn't do that much.
I know, we need to get out to more stuff.
I'm a stay-at-home mom that has nothing to do. I spend hours. So,
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Next up is Ken Kramer. Is it K-I-N?
yes,
I mean, is it C-R-A-M-E-R?
yes.
Okay. And you're from District 3?
Oh, yes. I didn't say what district that's from. I'm from District 5.
So I just would like to know how the implementation of a volunteer program at WASP is going. I know the shelter staff are overworked, they got a lot on their hands, how that was all coming along, getting some volunteers in there to help them get the dogs out, probably get them on walks, maybe just enriching their lives a little bit. That's all I wanted to know. I think she touched base on that. It was awesome. So just wondering about that. It's been a couple months since that was mentioned. So just wondering how that was going.
Well, I think that it's going to take some time.
I had the same question while Jeanette was speaking, and I'm also curious to know what is the plan? Is there a plan? And the other thought I had is that all we really need is more money. And so raising taxes to help the shelter, of course, would be a great thing to do.
It wouldn't
People
cost though
will-
if you have volunteers going in there. That's
It's
free.
not easy
Maybe
just to
some-
come up with a volunteer.
I'm sure
We
there would
talked
be
about it.
training, and I'm sure there would be other types of administrative costs. I am curious.
That would be Emily. Emily, would you know about what she's talking about? How would our board know anything about volunteers? Don't you know about that?
Ellen, is it appropriate if I speak at this time? Is it okay for me to speak?
Yes,
Okay.
we asked a question. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know, there was some changeover between Lieutenant Neinstedt and Purcell returning, and then of course the onboarding of my position. We are working on a number of major projects at this time. The volunteer program is one of them, but as you know, it's a bit of a chaotic environment. We have to be very intentional with our volunteer program just because of the nature of our facility. And so we are working on it. It is just, again, one of many major projects that takes time to complete. So we're doing the best we can. We hope to roll different versions of this out as the year goes on. It'll just be a little time, and as I have updates, I'll report.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Tommy Reese.
Hi, I live in Eastboro. And I live in Eastboro. Our dogs go there to the Wichita Animal Shelter, so just the other surrounding communities. And I honestly was very upset by what I just witnessed. I think you had a community member. I don't think you're associated with any group.
No.
Can we sit
She's a
down?
community
Like,
member. I'm
please?
happier
Please
sitting.
sit.
I'm happier standing. It's not, does it bother you?
Yes.
For you to stand.
Huh?
Please
It
sit.
feels uncomfortable to me.
Okay, well, it feels uncomfortable for me to sit, so I'm just gonna stand if that's okay.
Is the board asking her to sit?
Yes.
I am.
Okay. Thank you.
I will sit.
Thank you.
But it's just like that. The bullying that happens, someone that's coming from the community to talk, to address you guys, to bring, and she did that on her own. That wasn't a group. She's not part of a group. She's a community member that is concerned. And that's how she was just treated. It was concerning to me. Every day, I hear from people and the way they're treated at the Wichita Animal Shelter. And it's poorly. And I hear because I work with a lot of lost and found dogs. I was on the phone with a friend the other day who was in there looking for a dog, and she's like, where all do I look? It was a small dog. I said, they a lot of times are locked in locked halls, so ask. And there should be kennel cards. So I explained to her. One of the longtime supervisors is who came up to her, and she asked him, and he said, oh, those are locked halls. We know who's in those halls. We know the owners to all those dogs. Well, they don't. And it is where they keep the smaller dogs. So it's and I was on the phone, so I heard it. And it was a 34-year veteran that knew better, that just chose to lie to somebody in there trying to find the dog.
How do you know they were locked?
Because they were standing outside of the dog's hall where
Did
they
she find
keep
her
the
dog in
small. She didn't. They had to go back in. And that happens repeatedly. We have a current bailout. They were notified. There's notes where they knew that they were coming in. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the money. They were out of town. Dogs were taken in. They didn't have the money. These dogs were, one of them ended up transferring. The other one was injured and had actually had time at Besh. We actually found that in Trello. And they were sent, hey, your dog's injured. It's got 72 hours before they mercy youth it. They called in 3 different times before they were told that, yes, oh yeah, your dog's injured. And by the way, you're gonna have to pay the Besh bill too before you can get it out. I come in here not because I have an agenda. I come in here not because I have anything to earn by doing this. I stay involved and pay attention to what's going on and the dogs that go in and out of that shelter because I care. And for some, I keep asking God why. People keep being sent to me to ask if I could help. The deemed dangerous dogs constantly get sent to me. There are dogs that are considered PDD that are being put down because people don't have the money, because now they'll hold them in there and then charge you $20 a day. Recently helped somebody get a PDD dog, potentially deemed dangerous dog out, that cost us over $500 to get the dog out. We're not here because we want the shelter to fail. We're here because we see problems and we see dogs dying, and we know the people that have pets in there. We talk to them. No, there's some problems with the PDD being dangerous, and looking into some of that. I've lost my train of thought. I've kind of ignored what I wrote down. I have specific instances. I have reached out to Emily. I do reach out to board members. I do reach out to city council. I have been going into that shelter a year ago in May. Nothing looks better. And we're getting treated like villains. I don't understand what just happened to a community member that came in to talk to you guys. She was just bringing in what she knew, and she's wanting to make things better. Guys, I know I'm done, and you're gonna shut me up now. But that's not why we're here. We're not here because we want you guys to fail. But we're here because we have seen problems and we continue to see problems.
I have a question. Now, first of all, what dog did you have to pay for $500?
His name was Titan. I have more information on him, but I don't have it in front of me.
And I don't know what the cost was.
I mean, we have others, a DD dog, a deemed dangerous dog. If you guys really look into what it costs to get a dog that's a level 1, maybe he nipped somebody, maybe he killed a cat, even just a level 1, you're gonna be paying $20 a day now. They've changed it. It didn't used to be this way. They didn't used to charge all the boarding fees. So you're being charged, and they're telling everybody they have to hold, even when there's not. They'll do like a 10-day hold, even when there's not a confirmed scratch. They have to pay that. So you're figuring
You're talking.
$200 a day. Then you deem, label 1, if it's level 1, you have to pay $300 to the city of Wichita. You then have to, a lot of times, build a kennel. I know they can take the kennel off. I know one time the kennel's been taken off. I don't know most of the deemed dangerous cases because those are cases. We also can't find any information out. Someone came to me, she did a court request because she literally never has been able to get information on what actually happened, the incident that happened. And when she got her court request, it was blacked out.
On her dog?
On her dog.
They refused to give.
They refused to give her any information. They told her, and I can't remember whether it was Ron or Drew, I'd have to look back. They told her, you have to pay your $400. You have to pay $400 to go to court to find out what happened.
She ended up going to get that. She went to the hospital.
But there's another dog that I have seen the video. The dog nipped the back of someone's leg that had jeans on. It didn't even tear through the jeans. And when he talked to the guy trying to find out what happened, how bad was the injury? Because he was all he was told was it's a big bite. It wasn't a big bite. I saw the video. There's somebody in there now. Their dog was brought in as a stray last week. They got to bring one of their dogs home. Her garage door opened back up. That's how her dogs got out. She got home at 3:30. Her door was open. She started looking for him. She was able to get one. The other one is still at the shelter, now holding a 10-day rabies hold. And she asked, can you tell me, is there an injury? Was somebody really hurt? Oh, they'll live. Well, can you tell me? Can't tell her anything else. She knows nothing. And they wouldn't even let her in to see her dog. They let her stand in the hallway looking into the hall. And guys, it's every day for me that I get these calls and I get these emails. This system is broken. We're not here because.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question. First of all, Lieutenant Purcell, when a bite. I'm so sorry.
You can call me whatever you want.
It's my old age. I'm getting old. When a person's animal is brought in to the animal shelter or bite, they do not have, you can't share with them what happened with what their animal did, or you don't share.
It's hard to speak anecdotally. I don't know the exact case, but if there's people involved in a bite, we share as much information as we can. I don't know what case we're talking about that the core requests come through, but I don't fill core requests. That goes through our the people on records that do.
Are you speaking in regards to Carrie Haley?
On that one, yes. But she's an exceptional owner that was like, I sent a quarter request. I'm like, oh, wow, like you're on it. She was on it. She actually moved out of the city limits. She moved out of the city of Wichita so she could get her dog back.
But in respect to that specific case or whatever case, I did speak with that person on the phone several times. And I did speak with that person on the phone several times explaining their case, the incident, the details of the incident. In person and on the phone many times. I don't think necessarily what was portrayed online in other areas was accurate, but that doesn't mean that there aren't issues where there's instances where that could happen. All I can state is, like she said, contact supervision, and we'll address each individual case that we see an issue with.
And she did. She never did get information based on that, on the incident itself. And the quarter request, it's like I showed it to you, but she had to be, like, you shouldn't have to, you should not have to do all of that to get the information. And that is what it's done. That's what they're doing now. It used to be that they would put the incident on the paperwork when they were served. That's not happening anymore. They're copying and pasting the basic ordinance. So that's what they're doing now. And it's Drew and Ron are who these are coming from. And I get copies of all of them, so.
And the other thing is our board has always been, since I've been there, $20 a day. That's not gone up, that's not changed. And you would be hard pressed to find anywhere in the city that offers $20 or less. I've never gotten board for my dogs at that price.
Well, and I'm saying you've got a dog that's a potentially deemed dangerous dog, that there wasn't that's what it ends up being, and there wasn't even a reason to actually hold. Can you do a stray hold or a rabies hold at their home?
It depends on circumstances. Again, these are case by case basis. Yes, you can under some circumstances. Without knowing each case specifically, I can't tell you if that could have been done or not been done in that case.
What I'm seeing is that they're taking them in, and then you have to have that over $200 for that. You pay impound fees still. If you're not up to date on anything, you pay that, and then you have to go get a $300, $50 if it's a PDD, $300 if it's level 1, level 2. Then you have to put up a kennel if it's a level 1, and level 1s really aren't dogs that are out to kill people. A level 1 dog, the other day killed a duck in the backyard.
Let me just clarify real quick. When people talk about the cost to recover their dog from the shelter, they often conflate the cost associated with owning a dog in the city of Wichita and the cost to recover an animal from the shelter. So the shelter, you've got your intake fee and board. That's what we charge you at the shelter. The cost of responsible pet ownership is your dog license. It's the spay neuter, it's the microchip, it's the rabies vaccination. And so often what will happen is somebody will come in and they'll say, I had to pay X amount of dollars. When you actually break it down, it's maybe $150 for the actual stay at the shelter. And then the rest of the cost is the cost of responsible pet ownership.
And I was separating those out.
I know, I'm just
for
trying
you
to
guys,
explain.
because that is something that I think it's important for you guys to know. Because that's something you guys have the ability to work on too, is instead of like upping all of that, you're having a lot of these. I would be curious to know how many of the deemed dangerous dogs are dogs that were killed because owners don't have the money. And to me, that breaks my heart.
I will talk to you. I get those calls also through my rescue and through Spay Neuter Kansas. And I think one of the cases that you're talking about was deemed dangerous. Number 1, they had to build a pen in the backyard. And she told me all about this, okay? But I asked what the issue was, and she said, well, my dog gets out of the fence. Well, my dog was always going over to play with the next door neighbor's dog. So her dog was having the fence that she had for the dog was inadequate to keep the dog. And it was, I'm not gonna say names, but anyhow, it was deemed level 1. I still don't know if she was able to get out the dog because she had to build a pen. And because she asked us through Spay Neuter Kansas to spay the dog for her, to get the dog, and I said, that's fine, but I know that you first have to do some things. And the reason that she was at level 1, I don't know, I think she had some bites with some other people when they were trying to catch the dog, was because the dog was out continually. And so for the safety of the neighborhood and for the safety of the dog, that I think is why they put the pin in. Because I think you took that out, Captain Purcell, where you didn't have to require a pin.
Yeah, that was,
It can be taken out.
that was one of the things that I worked on, because it was, the reason pins should be required is if that's necessary to prevent a bite like that. That's what the purpose of the stipulations are, is to protect the public. And if the fence was not the issue, if that was not the problem as to what facilitated the bite, I didn't want to put that obligation on the owners if we didn't have to. And so in the event that a dog's getting out of its fence, and the fence is inadequate, and the owner can't repair the fence or make the fence adequate, then we put something like that on. Or if the owner has no fence at all, then we put something like that on. But the goal is to put the stipulations in place that protect the public from future incidents of that nature with that animal.
So in a case where there's a PDD dog, they got out because the fence was damaged by a construction next door neighbor. It was in the next door neighbor's yard. When it got caught, it did another PDD offense because barked, it never actually touched the person, it barked and made this person fearful, and that's who called it in. This dog, like 18 months earlier, had another PDD because it was in its own backyard and it bit the person mowing next door. That dog went to a level 1 and you guys required a kennel.
Yeah, like I said,
So, I mean,
talk about
those
specific
instances, I
cases.
don't know about most of them, but that was an incident that just happened
Yeah, and
recently.
we can talk anecdotally, and what I'm gonna tell you is without having that report in front of me, I can't tell you, but generally speaking, the reason for those stipulations are to prevent attacks and bites of that nature. So the stipulations are.
There wasn't a bite. The dog literally was 2 PDDs that turned into and had actually gotten out of its yard because of damage caused by the neighbor.
Okay, like I said,
On the second one, and the first time it was in its backyard when the incident happened.
like I
And so
said,
those are the cases, I'm like, if that's not gonna be taken off, if the kennel's not gonna be taken off in that case, when is it gonna be taken
okay,
off?
we've got the difference between general and anecdotal, like I'm saying. I can't talk anecdotally without having the case in front of me, generally.
Well, I just gave you the specifics of it, but I get it. But we're not, I just hope that when others come forward, we cannot assume that they're part of a movement. I mean, because she literally, I don't even hardly know her. I met
But
her
the
last,
point is-
I met her at the last meeting and she was just treated very inappropriately. And I hope that doesn't continue to happen. I hope that
It's
there's
the
more
truth.
respect. I hope that there's
all.
more respect brought here because there's also a lot of
Look at
lies.
the
We have
stuff
a board
we
member
put up.
missing here because they were lied to repeatedly. Yes, we read the letter of resignation. We repeatedly lied to by people at, if we read the resignation.
She's talking.
Yeah, I understand.
And I'm
The
sure there's an
situation-
excuse.
The situation is that she wanted to know what could be done and what could be done for the images, that it be fair and both sides be shown. And then because of some social medias, both sides aren't shown. They do what you read exactly what this letter said. It was very, anyone that heard that, they walked right out there, oh my God, that poor dog was dying, it was terrible, it's such a mess. And so, and that's how they quote unquote get donations to help them to take it. So that's why we were just letting, we weren't addressing it to you.
I think it could have been addressed.
Okay, and yes, probably we could have been a little bit
I think
calmer,
that
but it is
could have been a
difficult,
little
and we
It is.
try to correct,
Over
and
and
then we
over
come
and
and say the image is bad, well, the image is bad because of social media. And how it-
I don't think that improved any images when people see this.
Next up, I'm sorry,
Well, hopefully
Diana
they
Temple.
realize what they're reading is not always correct.
I think they know that on both sides, I'm sure. Passion gets in the way.
Okay. Well, I am just gonna start with, the reason that the shelter has bad image or whatever. We do not control people's narratives. What we put out on our page is factual, backed up by core, backed up by personal testimony. I will say you guys had a chairperson on the Animal Advisory Board for 4.5 years, who quit last fall, who wrote in an email, the police lied to the board repeatedly, consistently, and to our faces. This email is pages long, so there's one of the reasons why the public doesn't
can I
trust.
see the email?
No, you correct. And then I just want to make it clear that the change in venue tonight is great. The time frame is more conducive to the public. But I want it to be clear why it was changed. It was changed to accommodate the hiring of a
yes,
shelter
and
manager.
I'm
No,
just-
it's my time
I'm
to
telling
talk.
you right now.
It's my time to
No,
talk.
it's a personnel matter, we do not discuss personnel matters here, period. In the quote, I've already checked with legal, it is not to be
Okay,
discussed.
per an email
Diana,
dated
Diana,
9/25 by Lieutenant
Diana.
Ninestead. I'm gonna read this. The police department consulted with the law department on this matter as well regarding the change of venue and time. The police department has determined it is not in the best interest of WAS and KHS services to move the meeting time or venue. Therefore, the police department is declining the proposal. That was in September.
Okay,
And all of a
this is
sudden it changed
personnel
in
matter.
January when we
This
had
is
a
a
new position.
personnel matter, it is not to be discussed. Okay, thank you. If you have
Okay.
anything else to say, go ahead.
Also in that job description, it talks about organizing, maintaining, monitoring, and scheduling volunteers, which Emily says she is working on. I guess with that, there should be, like any business, there should be a project plan. There should be deadlines, there should be individual steps that need to be taken by a certain timeline. There needs to be transparency, there needs to be accountability, that a volunteer program does get implemented. It has been promised for years. It's nothing that just came up, it's literally been promised for years. Also, this is a side note, just to go ahead to set the groundwork for future comments. Also in the job description is to assist supervision in setting short-term and long-range goals to improve the quality of care of pets while in the care of Wichita Animal Services. I'll refer back to that in a minute. I also wanted to make sure the board was aware the standard operating procedure, I guess you guys should be aware of that, has not been updated since 2014. So it's currently under review, but I think it's important that you guys are all aware that it's under review because part of the Animal Control Advisory Board's mission is to review existing animal control regulations and make recommendations for changes and seeks constructive solutions to the concerns of the community members regarding animal control regulations. So I hope you guys are all aware and are part of that update of the 2014 decade-old long operating procedure. I would like to know when that is expected, just not an open-ended, it's being looked at, but what is the timeline? What is the accountability? That's going to be completed by what month? And I don't know what document is being adhered to currently, or are we not operating under a standard operating procedure? Also, I guess I had a question. The resources on the kennel statistic report, the resources outcome was removed from that report in February of 2025. It's still being referenced in the emails as resources, but since that was removed, I don't know, does that mean we no longer have a resource problem? Just curious why that was removed, or if that's because basically since April 1st to May 16th, 49% of the dog kennels have been empty and 43% of the cat kennels have been empty for that 6-week period. So if we're only running at 50%, then if we're doing maintenance on kennels, that should not be a problem. Those numbers come directly from Emily's emails each day saying what kennel capacity is, taking that divided by the number of days she reported. So that's your average, that 49% of the dog kennels were empty and 43% of the cat kennels were empty from April 1st to May 16th. On the RTO trend, return to owner trend, I could not hear what Emily said. I went back and used the kennel statistic reports for April of a given year. For 2025, April was 29.45%, 2024 it was 29.13%.
Got it. Wrap it up. 2 seconds.
2023 was 29%, 2022, 32%. So I'm not for sure that the Facebook page is doing what I think it should be doing.
Okay.
Emails are inconsistent. You have the emails that are coming out. I think there needs to be an improvement on those to talk to the rescues, how they use those. They come in late in the day. A lot of inconsistencies. You have dogs on deadlines for the day before. They're going to be, euthanized, and then between 3 o'clock one day and 3 o'clock the next day, 4 more show up to be euthanized that day. So
Now then, I have a question to ask you. What email did you refer, what's the email to and from? I'd like to know the person who wrote the email.
you can search for it, just like I do. You can pay for it, like that too.
Yes, I just want to know the person who sent the email and where it went.
Who are you asking? Which one? I referred to several.
Okay, the one that you were reading right there. Is that all one email?
This is directly from Mike to me.
This is directly to who?
From Mike.
Mike to you, okay.
So it's not in your core system. Oh, yes, George.
No, well, no,
Okay.
I was asking,
Yes.
I asked, our city council back in 2015, some of them that were on the board, on the city council. I asked them, why did they make this animal advisory board? And a couple of them had amnesia, but one, Jeff Longwell, actually told me the reason why they made this board was because the city council was getting calls from rescue citizens and whatnot. And so they went to Bob and said, hey, get a board so we can field some of these questions and concerns before our city council is just, because they were only making $30,000 back then, and now it's up to 50. But anyhow, so they wanted to have time to do what they needed to do and let a board field these questions and stuff. So that's why we were started back in July of 2015. It'll be next July here, the next meeting will be 10 years. And Emily, they were asking about, could you give us like an update? You said you would in the future, but could you maybe have some kind of update in 2 months, you know, in July when we meet, and then maybe in September again, where we are on that process of getting some of the volunteers to help with, if you could, I'd appreciate it. I mean, I don't know if we have to ask for a vote or anything, but.
I'm not ready to make it. We've already talked about a volunteer situation there.
But I just want an update from her if she could. every
We can
2
always
months.
ask for an update every time we have a meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Tony Winger. She's been just called.
Wow, this is quite a meeting. I'm glad I came. I see so much emotion and animosity about what's going on social media. And I found a post I'd just like to read to you. Wichita residents, we need your voice. This is out there for anyone to find. Most of our followers are aware of the tragic state of Wichita Animal Shelter. Hundreds of innocent pets are dying without a voice or a chance to be saved. All of the pets pictured in this post were euthanized by WASP, and that is just a very small fraction of the number of lives lost. Something has to change. Please join us and be their voice. Speak out against the cruelty and injustice happening at the Wichita Animal Shelter. All of those words are to get people to have an emotional, you don't give any statistics, you don't know for sure what all is going on at the shelter. You're just getting people emotional and all revved up to go out and say, oh my God, the shelter's horrible, let's go protest against it. And that's what these kinds of posts are talking, that's what gets people to do. And people love to get emotional and go march and do all kinds of things without realizing what's going on. I was looking for, there was a reply from somebody that had a horrible thing to say about the animal shelter. I don't know all of these people over here, but I know a few of them, and I know they're not cool people. And I know they're doing a job that's very hard to do. I couldn't do it. But my question to some of the people behind me, and I've asked this at meetings before, you want all of these animals to survive. What are we gonna do with them? And I think your answer to that, I've seen this with Always and Forever, because they're supposedly renting a facility here in Wichita. So I guess they can put in kennels and runs and house all these dogs that aren't adoptable. And that's your answer. We're gonna warehouse these animals. And honestly, I think that's cruel. I think that's cruel to the animals. I don't think they were intended to live that way. And I object to that strenuously. Now, you talk about how, well, the animals aren't networked. They're not advertised. Well, that's really not true. They're just some of these animals that you can't find a home for. I mean, I've got good dogs in my house I'm fostering, and it's hard to find them a good home. We can find them people that say, hey, I'll take that dog home, but they're not gonna take good care of and might end up at the shelter again, and I don't want that for these dogs, but, where was I going with this? I'm not even reading notes, I'm just reacting to everything I've heard here today. But I think it's a sad state of affairs when we take these innocent animals and we warehouse them next to other animals that are gonna live their lives out in these supposed shelters or what have you. I see posts from different rescues that say, well, so-and-so dog has been in our shelter for 6-7 years or what have you and needs a home and everything. Network those dogs. But I know that there's an area rescue that has a dog that they got. It was in bad shape. I don't know why they took it, but they did. It was in horrible shape. They spent a lot of money getting this dog rehabilitated at the vet and what have you. And turns out once the dog got healthy, it was aggressive to other dogs. And now they're putting a post out every day for the last 20 some odd days to get this dog adopted. Nobody's interested. So what do you do with these animals? And that is my big question, is where do they go? And I don't think I've seen any kind of a good answer from the people behind me. And I would like to also ask, what have you done to help people have a better image of the shelter, other than going on social media and posting these emotional bashings that get people all riled up? And I saw the frustration of the board with some of those things, and I understand that frustration. I read all this and I'm thinking, what? So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I don't know if I can read this thing. Is it Jill Barnes? Okay.
Yeah.
And is it Varnes? Okay.
Yes.
And Jill,
Sorry, I signed my name a lot of work.
that's okay. I figured, I just want to make sure we didn't get it wrong. Okay. And you are from?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I've been in the county, but my house is in the process of being annexed.
Okay, so you're Sedgwick County, correct? That's
Yeah,
that's
or
fine.
daughter, I'm not sure which, somewhere in that
Daughter.
process.
That's fine, no problem.
Thank you. I just want to speak on things today.
Let's pick up.
Okay,
I'm so
sorry. And I'm to address you, not them, correct? Okay. This is my second time coming to this meeting, just somebody who cares a lot about animals. I had a pet spider live by my bathtub. I save all the June bugs from dying upside down outside. Love animals. That's just me. I'm sorry. I'm not a very loud person. I will say, I think in respect to some of the things that have been talked about today, for me personally, and I think for a lot of community members, the image of the shelter, probably the bottom line to the image problem is the euthanasia rate. There's a lot of emotion and animosity, like she mentioned, on social media. There's a lot of emotion and animosity in this room tonight. I think that's really sad because I think that everybody in this room should be partnered. I mean, there should be the same goal at the end of the day, right? To have animals in loving homes where they're taken care of with responsible owners. That should be the mutual goal in this room, and that should be what brings us together. There needs to be a lot more accountability on all sides, and a lot less defensiveness. Rescues at least are trying to give animals a chance. I personally fostered a dog, and that rescue that I worked with did end up euthanizing that dog because of behavior. I've seen a lot of rescues that talk about behavior euthanasia. Painful, difficult choice to make, but I know that rescues will do that on occasion, but at least they get them out of the shelter and see if there is potential for them to become a companion pet, more so than the potential that the shelter has to be able to rehabilitate an animal or assess if it's going to be a good companion pet. In regards to the reduction of kennel space, I know you said it started next week. I don't know how long you've known that it was going to be next week, but my first thought in that issue would be, wouldn't it be a great thing to have like a some kind of community committee come together and work through like, hey, we're going to have decreased kennel space. What can we do to mitigate a raising euthanasia rate for that? A committee that could come together and perhaps figure out how to contract some off-site kennel space.
addressing, I know staffing has been brought up before in this meeting as an issue, with being able to, care for a large number of animals, so that could have been addressed. And again, you know, the volunteer foster program, may have been a helpful alternative if you have less kennel space in the shelter. If it was extended, I think that would be a great idea to maybe try to figure out how to mitigate, you know, a raising euthanasia risk due to that circumstance. One thing I want to mention that I find really troublesome, is some people playing on their cell phones during this meeting. I think this is a meeting where we're all supposed to come together, try to be engaged in the issues here and solve it. I'm just frustrated to see so many people who I wish were engaged here on their cell phones.
Okay, well, one of the persons is just a tech person and he doesn't need to be engaged, okay? So that's good.
There's a lot though, there's a lot. I wanna talk specifically real quick about a dog that I recently got from the shelter. She was brought in on April 13th, she was seen at Besh. She then returned to the shelter with medication. It was discussed in there euthanizing her if they thought she had kennel cough. She didn't, but anyway, in my paperwork that I received from her, it references her being 5 years old, it references her being 12 years old. It references her having a missing right eye. She did not have a missing right eye. It references that she was intact when she actually had a green sterilization tattoo on her stomach. When I picked her up, I would have liked to have seen some proof of immunization, if that is in fact being done in the shelter. That way, for me, when I take her to my vet, I know what immunizations she's had recently. And lastly, like I said, she was seen at Besh on the 13th and returned, went to the animal shelter. Then after being seen at Besh, I picked her up on the 17th. I was given that medication. It was in a tube and the tube had not been opened. So in the 4 days, she should have received it every 12 hours according to the veterinary document in here. It was not even attempted to get. I would be
know
happy.
if they didn't give you a new tube because they didn't give you a number? Did you ask?
I think it's pretty safe to say that they hadn't used an entire 2 to 3 days.
Pill bottle or?
No, the antibiotic eye movement, the
Oh.
neomycin,
Oh, okay.
you know,
Not
I think it's
oral
a combo
medication.
antibiotic, the eye ointment.
Right.
I would doubt that's the case.
And see, that's where you're assuming that you're not.
Just wait, Emily, you wanna see?
Yeah, have you reached out to any of us about your situation with your dog and your concerns? Okay, if you would like to, you can email or call me, I can give you my contact information if you'd like to understand more about what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, gladly.
I think that's an important thing. When people have a problem, they're afraid of something or they're upset with something, the first place you should go to is a supervisor. And many times I ask him to talk to a supervisor decision. And I think that way you could get through your information. Just have coming here and then waiting, was this just the same? Was this in May?
Not May.
You said
April.
Oh, April, okay.
And I'd be happy to show you guys like what the dog's eyes look like when I picked her up from the shelter, not here, from the shelters, you could see like what her state was and the need for that medication.
Were you the owner of the dog?
No.
How did you pick her up? How did you pick her up through?
Through a rescue.
Through a rescue. So the rescue went and got it and you fostered the rescue. Is that what you're doing?
Correct.
Okay. And you went through KHS?
Yes.
Ross? Wait, what?
Well, I mean, if she was.
The rescue, oh, I see
Yes.
the rescue did the place.
Yes.
Okay, your time is up. I'm so
Anybody
sorry.
wanna see a picture? Anybody wanna see a picture?
I'll just wait till you and I can talk.
Okay.
We'll do it later. Hold on. Now, my question to you is, first of all, they can't off-site the dogs to be held captive for sale. Is that true? Because they have to be in the facility. They cannot be.
Yeah.
She suggested that you could have someplace where they could kennel them, and I don't think that's able to be done because they have to come to one place. Okay.
They have to be in a facility open to the public.
Pardon?
They have to be in a facility where they're able to be inspected.
Yeah, and they have to be able to walk it. So it's
I was
something
just
that.
thinking like the animal shelter contracting to
like almost a second location for a interim period. Like I said, I just don't know what tonight, I'm spitballing ideas back here just to. Well, in order for them to contract it, they'd have to run it and then it would have to be open to the public, okay? And I don't know if that's within our budget to figure out how to contract something. But it's, you know, the state is becoming very nasty about this, and that's why we have an issue with the neonatal animals. They used to be able to go to foster homes or sometimes to rescues for their stray home. They are not allowing that now. They're not allowing that. Okay, the second one is, I think one of the situations is that they show the euthanasia rate, but then they don't show why they euthanized the dogs. Why were these dogs euthanized? And I don't know if you've been coming this your second time here. Okay. Have you visited the shelter and have you talked to like Captain Purcell or Miss Hurst? Not Hurst. I suggest that you do that. Okay. I think that will help you and help them to understand a little bit about it, because a lot of the times with just like the 100 dogs that were killed, I guess whatever Tony had said. I bet you there were a lot of those which could have been deemed dangerous dogs that did not go back out, or KDA dogs they said they could not get out, and or neonatal animals that they couldn't take out. So, you know, I think that the public needs to make sure that they understand why the dogs are being euthanized, and if they had been, I think right now that they are trying to get it out, and I know that the dogs are being what do I say, processed, or no, they're not being processed. That dogs are being shown in other rescues and other venues to say these dogs have only so much time to go. So there is, you know, some sort of education as far as getting out the information of what dogs do need to come in. And there's no, in many cases, there's no answer. No one comes forth. No one wants this dog, no one wants this dog. So what are we supposed to do? Because we're an open admission shelter, not a closed shelter where you can say, oh, well, they'll turn them away. So I think that the thing that's important to remember is that if you don't take dogs off the street that are running at large, then you're gonna run into some issues with dog packs like in Katy, like Kansas Pet Project, a situation where they had a person who was killed because the dog that they said they didn't have room for, they wouldn't take it, some dogs, and it took a person on a bicycle to be killed for them to say, whoa, we better not do this anymore, we better keep our shelter open and get all these dogs off the street. Absolutely. So it's a catch-22, and sometimes it's.
And that's where, you know, I think a
not
better
space.
partnership versus this emotional, this animosity.
I
is
would
working
agree.
against
Well,
each other.
And I will
And
say
I
too,
think-
some of these social media, they don't have to post everything there. Some of them approve the posts before they're posted. Take the nasty stuff off. Don't let them post.
So I think a
You know,
really,
and look and encourage people. I mean, we're short of fosters, we're short of adopters. We probably need more fosters than adopters because most fosters fail that I've met and end up keeping the dog.
I've fostered 18 and only
You
failed
know,
2.
and
My
so
odds are
be
good.
positive. It's very frustrating.
It is, but
After reading all that stuff, and then I have friends call.
it's
Oh my God,
frustrating
what do you
on
guys
both
call it? It's not
sides,
true.
and.
When things are posted that you know are blatant lies,
There's,
very
there's.
good.
Okay, we need
information
to cut off. I'm so sorry, we have a guest here to speak, and we have a bunch of other stuff we need to go through. I'm so sorry I let the meeting go too long, okay? Someone should have talked to me.
I know.
Corner. Okay, is it a hard 7? Is it a hard 7?
It is at 7 o'clock. You'll have to make a motion to extend out a certain time. And then if you hit that time and there's time left over for the building, I should say, before it closes,
Okay,
then you can make another motion, so.
okay, that's excellent, okay. Our next person to speak is Riley Boyne. She's with the Kansas Pet Advocates. She's gonna speak on the Kansas situation with AFI and Kansas Pet Advocates. I'm sorry, the Kansas Department of Agriculture.
We'll get through the acronyms in a moment.
I know, yeah. She's on KDA and AFI.
Yeah, and it's really nice to be able to sit down and not stand in uncomfortable heels, which is what I normally am forced to do, so thank you. Like Ellen said, my name is Riley Goen, and I'm here on behalf of Kansas Pet Advocates.
We are a nonprofit membership organization that advocates to improve the lives and laws for Kansas pets at the state level. We have our executive director, Terry Humphrey, has been lobbying for animal welfare and in the animal welfare space for the past 15 years with various organizations. And we have a general counsel who is slowly becoming, over the past 6 years, she's become an expert on Kansas pet animal law. We also have legal interns who do a lot of comparative research, and we identify problems. People come to us with problems with state laws, with enforcement, and we try to come up with ways to solve them through legislation, through regulation, through policy, through advocacy. One of the best things that we do is we are a research-based and data-driven organization. So what we've been doing since 2018 is we do monthly core requests through the Kansas Department of Agriculture, through the Animal Facilities Inspection Program, to track, how are licensees performing, how is AFI's enforcement performing, and then if there are any issues, we try to flag them appropriately with the KDA, with the AFI program. Some cases there have been facilities that have gone under the radar that have been shut down. Some of them have been even convicted of animal cruelty. And so that's just kind of a glimpse into the resources that we have and what we do. Over the past year, the Kansas Department of Agriculture has been trying to update some of the regulations, specifically regarding sick animal transfer, the adequate veterinary care, as well as implementing a few new regulations about license renewal and applications, the notifications that we need, that they need to have. And they've recently released a new set of proposed amendments to 3 existing regulations and have proposed 2 additional regulations. Those were released on May 2nd and shared with the public through their website, and it was sent directly to licensees, and they were invited to comment on these. And the comment period is open through June 6th through a portal on the website. And Ellen, I'll send you the link too, so that way you can include it in the minutes as well. And one of the things that I want to say is that this is not the first time that some of these changes have been proposed. There was a draft regulations released in August that they had invited informal public comment on. They received over 300 comments on those proposed regulations. Kansas Pet Advocates commented. I know Kansas Humane Society commented. I know several of the rescues behind me submitted comments, as well as shelters and rescues from across the state, breeders, pet stores, boarding and training kennels. And they all said that overall those regulations were unfeasible. And so KDA took a lot of those comments and they've changed some of their proposal, and they re-released them in December. And several people submitted comments again, and so they walked those back. And so now the ones that were released 2 weeks ago now are representing the input of over 300 people. And so there has been a significant impact of public comments. I will say that on behalf of Kansas Pet Advocates, we do still have some concerns with it. A couple of the biggest ones that we've highlighted are specifically regarding contagious diseases. It has, diagnosed with, showing signs with, in contact with, or suspected of. Suspected isn't really a great legal term. You can't prove that somebody suspects it. There's a lack of who's suspecting it. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not an expert in what animal health looks like by any chance. If I see a dog sneeze, I don't know if that's kennel cough. I don't know if a bug flew up his nose. But as a member of the public, I can say that I've suspected it. And so we're trying to get them to walk that back. We've also thought that some of the record keeping requirements are a little bit burdensome as well. Everybody who works in animal welfare, who cares for animals, they all have a job focused around caring for animals. And then the last thing that anybody of us wants, and as somebody who fills out a lot of paperwork, we do not want to be filling out extra paperwork
And then there were some additional requirements for vet examinations on the premises at the time of the annual vet visit. Well, shelters get dogs in every day. If the vet happens to be there and there's, 5, 10 new dogs, that are gonna be gone within the next 24 hours because they're stray animals, that their owners are gonna come in and reclaim, but then the vet would have to inspect those. Or if you take your dog to a dog daycare, the vet would have to inspect the premises and then physically examine every dog on those premises. So those are some of the things that we've been concerned about. We submit comments every single time, and I'm here to kind of reiterate that this is an opportunity for you to have an impact on the regulations that govern how the Wichita Animal Shelter operates, that govern how Kansas Humane Society operates, that govern how all of the rescues, all of the pet stores, all of the breeders in Wichita and surrounding areas can operate. And I know too that it's really easy to rag on the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and but one of the biggest things that has helped with us is building positive relationships and focusing on not just the problems that we have with some of the things. Like I said, we still have problems, but they have listened to us when we said that somebody can't bring an animal to see a vet within 24 hours of accepting a transfer for another thing, and they've taken that away. So I encourage you to submit comments if you haven't already. I would encourage you to think about what would impact the operations at the Wichita Animal Shelter, what would limit their goal to save as many lives as possible, to reunite the animals with their owners, to prevent dangerous dogs from causing harm, and focus too on these positive conversations. What's going well, and what can we change, and how can we get there? And I know one of the biggest frustrations that I've heard a lot about from various parties is that things happen slowly. The regulation process, this is an informal part, we're not even in the formal regulation process. And if you want me to come back and bore you about exactly what every step is, I'll just say it takes several months. And right now is the best chance that we have to make meaningful, substantive impact on the promulgation of these regulations. And then if something says that the KDA says, statute needs to change, well, we've got until January of next year to figure out what works best. And so I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to be a resource. I mostly live out of Topeka because I'm a lobbyist and I'm in the State House January through April. But for the rest of the summer, I plan on being here.
I have a question for Emily, or Captain Michelle. Can you post about the regulations and have the shelter Facebook page about put a link on there for people to react to them? Would you be able to do that?
I don't think so, but I'll check.
Pardon?
I said, I don't think so, but I'll check.
Okay, because it would be, I think it'd be beneficial for to somehow send a link to, you can send a link simply to the, is it the AFI or is it KDA page?
So it's agriculture.ks.gov is the main page that it's on, and then it's a Russian nesting doll of menus to get there.
Because you can actually you can send them to the page that we were sent, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then they could read them, and then they have what they're saying and what they're wanting to do, and have everybody key in on that. I'm sure that's what's going on with the readers, is they've somehow spread that out. But we can certainly put it in our agenda or our minutes, but it'll be 2 months before this next year. But we can look at different ways to put that on. I'm sure that you all are going to put it on your websites, aren't you?
I'd
send it out to all the rescues.
I'd have a communication distribution list to all the rescues in Kansas.
So what did you say?
I said I have a distribution list to all the rescues and shelters in the state of Kansas, so that's who I communicate with on the state level.
That's probably going also through APA. They probably have a similar list, and Humane World for animals.
And we also have, we encourage too veterinarians to comment as well, because veterinarians have a unique perspective as to what's necessary and what's unnecessary. What can be done under vet protocols versus what does a licensed veterinarian need to do, which is something that's, Wichita's resourced in a way that some of our smaller communities out in western Kansas, southeast Kansas lack. And I realize too that this is, there's other problems that we would like to solve. I know that we are going to be keeping our comments focused specifically on just the regulations that were released. And we're here at the Wichita Animal Services Advisory Board. The state has their own Kansas Pet Animal Advisory Board. And I also know that Sasha is very responsive to, if there are other issues in addition to the ones that are covered by the recently proposed draft regulations.
Questions? Yes.
I was just gonna share that, on the issue of sick animal transfer, this is by far the best version they've released. It is the closest to allowing transfer of sick animals, cats and dogs, to transfer to either fosters or to rescues. It allows, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Riley.
Cut my lawyer.
It feels to me like this is the first draft that they put out that could significantly change what we've been facing since March of 2020. So
This is a significant improvement to what's been previously released. And, I encourage everybody to read it, to review it. And when you think about comments, think about, what will this do to my operations? Will this increase my cost? Will this mean that there are fewer lives saved? Or will this mean that there are more lives saved from the current situation?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, we are short on time. We have a bunch of stuff to do. Next up is, I want to bring up, and I guess I'm gonna just do a shortened version of this, is that I'm sure everyone is aware that the city of Wichita has had 2 people killed by dogs in the last 2.5-3 months, okay? And both those dogs were owned dogs, but people were still killed. One lady was killed trying to break up a fight between her 2 dogs, and the other one was, he wasn't the owner, his son was the owner, and he was killed, attacked by the dogs who took him outside the leash. But prior to that, we had 2 more people killed in the city of Wichita. One was a friend going into a backyard that, of his friends, he went into his friend's backyard to play with his dogs and they ended up killing him. And the other one was a man who was being chased by a couple of, 2 or at least 2 or 3 dogs, and he died of a heart attack. A lady tried to help him, and he was trying to get away from him. He was terrified of him. He died of a heart attack. And so I think, and plus, when you saw the data that Emily had presented, the dog bites and the dog situations are getting worse. We're having more dog bites. And I was gonna ask Purcell if he could just give a short version of what can we do to mitigate some of these issues? What can we do as a city to say we have got a situation with some dogs that are causing problems? There's not very many cities that have 2 people killed by dogs in the city, in the city, and we are one of them. I don't know, I may imagine someplace like Los Angeles has, or New York, but it's very sad that that's happened. And I think that we would be remiss as an advisory board to not think of the people side of that, okay? The community side. We have to keep the community safe. So far, all we talked about right now is dogs, what's best for dogs, what's best for dogs. We also have to talk about what's best for the community. And the community is, what's best for the community is to enforce our leash laws, I think. And I'm not quite sure what to do, other than make sure that dogs are, like with pit bulls, they're required to be spayed or neutered and required to be microchipped and vaccinated for rabies and registered, and they need to have that done. And so we need to enforce that law, because unfortunately all of these dogs were pit bulls that killed people. Anyhow, do you have anything to say about that? So,
I mean, it's all gonna come down to social changes, like people embracing the idea of responsible pet ownership, and then from, of course, the shelter side, increased enforcement. But to do that, you've got to be able to manage a shelter and get more bodies out in the street. And right now, those two things are competing with resources. So we're just doing as best we can to put as many resources in both.
I wonder if we could, approach the city council members as to why, because we've had these deaths, that we need, more people on the streets, more field officers to do the job, and maybe we need more money. Because it's come down to people being killed, and, we need to enforce it, not just for the animals' sake, but for the community's sake. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. We'll start there. Animals in restaurants.
Quickly, Riley, you're talking with the team. I finally got hold of somebody from the state today and was like, how do I find it? There's once.
Animal in restaurants, I guess they gotta
Well,
eat.
okay.
They gotta eat.
I was having a conversation with a few people and every one of them said, I was in this restaurant and this person had a dog. I was in this restaurant, this person had a dog that just sat under. So they were saying, what's the rules? What, you know, because they weren't service animals. And so there's a difference between the service animals and the emotional support. So anyway, I went to the Kansas Department of Ag, Food Safety and Lodging, go under educational materials, Kansas Food Code, compliance and enforcement. It's on page 130 and 131. So basically, live animals may be allowed in the following situations if the contamination of food, clean equipment, utensils and linens, unwrapped single service and single use articles cannot result in edible, talking about fish, I'm just skip that one. Patrol dogs accompanying police or security officers in offices and dining, sales and storage areas. Cannot be in food preparation areas. Pets in the common dining areas of instituted care facilities, such as nursing homes, they have to behave. Effective partitioning and self-closing doors separate the common dining areas from food storage or prep. Dining areas include the tables, the countertops, and some bars and similar surfaces are effectively cleaned before the next meal service. Dogs that are not service animals may be allowed in exterior dining areas and are not required to be leashed if the food establishment has a written plan describing the processes and procedures in place to prevent food contamination from on-premise dogs. Dogs are under handler control, are well behaved and respond to handler commands. Dogs are not allowed on dining surfaces, tables, bars, and countertops. Dogs are not fed or watered from any food establishment utensils, with the exception of single service items that are disposed of immediately following use. An area outside of the food establishment is designated for dog urination and defecation. And employees have to wash their hands after any dog contact. Written plans addressing each element of this section are posted next to the food establishment license in the establishment. And employees of the establishment are trained on the plan, and the plan is made available to the regulatory authority upon request. So service animals, I think, obviously have more leniency, but if they want to have emotional support animals, they can. Now you can't, this is just dogs.
We have time. Hold on. Okay, now what?
Okay, you hit your 7 o'clock, so you'll make a motion. I need a time amount. You'll second, you'll vote on it, and then you can go back to what you were talking.
I'm gonna make a motion that we extend the meeting for
2 hours.
I would say maximum of 30 minutes. All those in favor? All right, thank you. That was.
Okay. So anyway, the only other thing is that exotic animals aren't even allowed in the city of Wichita. And so we can't send them, because a friend of mine saw a monkey in the restaurant, sitting on the person's shoulder. And so those are not allowed.
What were you saying
What?
about that? What, on the shoulder?
The monkey on the shoulder, you
The
know,
monkey.
no exotic animals.
Monkeys are outlawed in the city of Wichita.
And I have that, except I don't have internet service, and so I can't pull up the email that that's attached to, so I can't read any of that. That's all I have, anybody, just to kind of clarify, because I started getting questions about it, so.
I do think there's some restaurants that do allow dogs.
They do, as a matter of, because you
And
can
that's-
Google, and there's actually, you can Google a list of Wichita restaurants that allow.
I'm going to take and the identification of animals was posted, what I put that on because of the last meeting that I think Diana and Conley talked about concerns about misgendering and having issues with the identification of the animal. And I'm just gonna have Emily or Captain Purcell talk a little bit about what you guys have done to increase, to delete or to decrease the problems.
Yes, absolutely, I can speak to that. So part of me coming aboard, in addition to learning and auditing essentially all of our operations, is we're also working on new training. So we were lucky to be able to close for a training date in May, where we worked specifically on those items along with some others. So I'm hoping that we'll see improvements and little issues along those lines. But it's just, we're working on implementing regular and consistent training for all of our current staff so that they're reminded of how to do things, as well as new staff that are on board.
Good, so you're addressing this.
Yes.
Thank you. Now we're gonna go to old business. We have a flyer that I have.
Everybody got just, I also emailed it to you, there are a couple other positions. It correlates their numbers, it correlates with what. Is it WALFP? Conlon, is that one?
What? I'm sorry.
WALFP, is that the one?
No,
Which the one that they don't post anymore that they show?
right, it's the, yeah.
Is that the
It's that, that's the one, that's the one.
Okay.
And their account was taken over, and so people can't post, they can just share.
Okay. Ellen suggested we put that back on because people don't have to join that group. I think they have to join some of the others to
They just
be able
can't
to
post.
see, and so some people don't like to join in this way.
They just can't post.
Right. So we added that under,
And they don't have to join the Lost and Found group to go on and look.
okay,
They can look without joining.
okay,
They just can't comment without being an approved, so we can stop the scammers.
okay. Then
Not aggressive.
I have a call, okay, and then under number 4, the spay and neuter, the subsidized, I have one more group that I have contacted, I have not heard from them yet. And if they want to be listed, and if anybody knows any others that will do that. Before we just had the Humane Society and Spay Neuter Canvas. We added Bruce Veterinary Services and Walls Spay It Forward. Just the location. Somewhere in here. When we talked about the new law of microchipping, I meant to come. Number 6. Yeah, and it's even in bold face. We'll also add a note that it is recommended to take your animal for a vet visit or whatever, to have, ask the vet to scan the animal to make sure. And then. And at the bottom, because I didn't, on the front, where we're taking off the statistics, I'm suggesting that we list some links to the Animal Service Board, the ordinances, and other applicable links on Wichita.gov. But I just haven't. I tried to look at the link and it was 1:00 in the morning. So those are, because I think there's 3 links.
Okay, so we've been working on this for several months or several meetings. And I think that you guys have come up with an adequate changes. Is there any questions? Does anyone have any adequate changes for this? And I will preface this with the fact that we will approve something, but then it's gonna go to the city, and the city has ultimate approval, and it may come back to us looking totally different.
So where is this found?
This, these were printed off and they're in the animal shelter, in the lobby.
So that's the only area of distribution of this flyer.
I'd like this, I would like to be able to put it on, under the Animal Board Services. Or online.
Reason that this was started, because I was on the board that started, is that we were having the board members go to Wolfstock, and we wanted something to hand out to people, because Wolfstock was there. We had put this together so we could hand out to the people at Wolfstock, and that was when was this?
2016.
2016, it's been a long time, but that's one of the reasons why we did that, was to get it so that we could hand that out to the public, and because
I would also like to see this on the board site on the Wichita.gov.
But they did a really nice job. We gave them stuff and they came up with, I think, something much better than what we had put together. So it's.
I guess the cost of printing like thousands of these, placing them places, you already got, okay, we got that image. Now, this is a nice flyer. I mean, it shows someone puts forth some effort, it's got in it. You know, if someone were to come across this, okay, got some nice pictures, and, you know.
I have a theory that it's gonna come back black and white.
You know, okay, well, this would be a small thing, probably kind of expensive though, to print the glossy thing.
That's why we got you on the board to pay for that.
Actually, what the group put together was not near as nice as what they did. We had a pretty plain Jane, and when it came back, we were, oh my gosh, look what they did, because they took their department and put it together and did a really good job. And I guess, I don't know how much it costs, but you know, they were willing to do it. We had quite a few, but we still have some.
Cities get a print shop, I don't think it should cost them to do it.
But this is one part, I think, of helping the image.
Sure. That kind of stuff goes a long way. In the right hands.
Do you think that we're ready for a motion that this has been approved and we can get it moved on?
I think so. I just.
Would you like to make
But I just want to say, you know, there's a couple things with the new ordinance, like it says 2 dogs and 2. Oh,
Yeah, it's on.
If you
So
go
it'll-
through here,
okay.
everything is
Okay,
corrected,
gotcha.
and I changed everything to where it reads Wichita Animal Services, advisory board, vision is Wichita Animal Services, since that's changed.
I think,
And I updated this to the meeting.
Deal.
You what?
and yes, veterinary, we can get some veterinary, to have them have to hand out, so yes, it's a good thing.
I think so.
So you wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the changes.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Raise your hand. Okay, that's great. You
Those
did
of
a
us
good
that
job.
help bailouts really appreciate these. Because when we help the bailouts and they have the vouchers, and then we can actually give them that, otherwise we're like, how
Oh,
to communicate and
sure.
message with
I
them.
know, I mean, we don't have it.
And I don't know why, I don't really wanna connect personally with everybody that I help fill out, sometimes they have ankle bracelets.
Yeah, I know that
Like-
you sent some other things.
And I was just wondering, you know, there were some other things that,
And
that I had.
I've actually talked to Emily about it,
Okay,
and I
it just
think
would
what
be
we're gonna
great for
do
the public to know.
Okay,
is,
Awesome.
what, are these something in addition to what's on here?
I mean, there was, and a couple of other people, they gave ideas, and they knew that this was limited space, okay?
Right, cause you only have two.
Right, and so we've talked about maybe coming up with a couple more flyers, and so we're gonna be.
Well, and I
meeting-
don't know if it even needs to be flyers,
Just
because some of it
template.
is data that can
So,
change, but it just needs to be out.
Just some
Okay, what-
updated information.
Okay, what we're doing is we are approving what has been
Yes.
handed to us,
Yes.
so we can't make any changes to that.
No,
Okay,
that's not what we're doing.
Okay, okay, that's what I'm saying.
She was just questioning about some of the other things that we had discussed.
Okay.
Wait a minute, it seems like we're working together here.
Yeah, I know.
Good job.
And the next thing would be city license updates, and all I have is, it's still not working. It's still not working. I had a person call me so frustrated because she couldn't get her dog's license, and she wanted to and she couldn't. And I said, go to the animal shelter and just hand all your stuff and you can get licensed there. So you guys are getting a huge amount of people coming in to pay their license fee, which I hope you are. That's a good thing, but Drew's not here to discuss that. Emily, have you heard anything more about the licensing updates? How to get licensed first time online and the situation set up for veterinarians to make it easier? I've not gotten anything, suspended or.
My understanding, Drew's attending the meetings for us, and my understanding is that they're hoping that that will be live soon, is the last update I got.
So anyway, the same story.
I've been saying I would do this, but there is a really nice program that does this, that Omaha, Nebraska uses and Lisa, Missouri uses. And it's a special for licensing dogs, and it seems to have everything that we would like on there. And I don't know if we can suggest that the city purchase that program and use that program, but I think when I talked about it, they're already contracted with the program that they're on, so we'd have to probably wait until next year for the contract, so I'll do that. Okay. Now, the issues and updates, this is where we can talk about the important, the letter. Well, first of all, does anyone have, you've got some issues?
But no, I just wanted to say that, I think you guys have all heard that the state passed some rule that they can sell fireworks at any time during the year. The problem with that is, if they sell them, even though you can't blow them off, guess what? They'll be blowing them off. So I just talked with a county rep and also the fire chief, and she thought that most of the cities around here are staying with, they're not gonna let them sell all year round. So that may help, but yeah, it's, the animals get really affected by fireworks. I mean, also PTSD people and elderly people have to go to work. There's a lot of cons, but yeah, that's something that, it's sad that the state did what they did, but hopefully the cities around Wichita won't go to that, so we should be okay for the time being.
I believe the city council voted yesterday.
I was there, yes.
Yeah, I watched it on, kept it to where it's limited,
27th through the 5th.
yeah, same as last year.
Okay, I'm gonna call on Susan's ability to do a lot of writing and do well on this letter. Now, from what I'm understanding, we cannot send it from the advisory board, but I'm gonna check into that. But I don't know if we can send it from the advisory board. Each of us as an advisory board member can send a letter from them, you know, just, and you can even mention that you're on this advisory board. I will check with Jane German on that. Keely, are you aware of anything like that? What's your thought on that?
I don't know. I think your best thing is going through law department. I am under the impression though, as an advisory board, I don't think you can, but you can send it as an individual person. But I know Captain Purcell and I will look into that for you.
I know we can't law, so I don't know, as a board,
Okay,
so maybe they consider this just the same thing.
and maybe we're just Susan, you're great at doing these things. Would you, or am I pushing you into?
When you want. So are you asking me to say things out loud and write them down?
Yeah, write down and come up with something, or you, because anyone can, she just
Sure,
writes.
I would also take notes. I do have a couple of questions about this. For example, I didn't hear about this in February. So I'm wondering, when did we find out this needed to be done? And when was the extension requested?
Can you answer that?
Yes. When did we find out this needed to happen?
My understanding is that during a walkthrough, it was mentioned verbally that so the issue is essentially on our each of the dog kennels has a wall, and then we have a connection to the floor via, and it's an epoxy floor. And there's caulking inside and underneath essentially each of the individual kennel walls. And so you would have at least about two, some of them have 3 different surfaces with this caulking in it. And the caulking's just old and has, for those that are familiar with caulking, it cracks, it degrades, it's chemicals, dogs. And so there are pieces that are, have a little bit of crack in it. There's some pieces that maybe have peeled back. It's just variations, but every single kennel has some variation. I would say that there's, some kennel walls that the caulking's still intact, but likely it's an issue. And so we, it was mentioned verbally. Sometimes the KDA will say, hey, this looks like this is an issue, something that you guys should get taken care of.
Can you say what
month
that was? What year, what month?
I think it was in November. It was before I was here for sure, but so I don't know the exact date. And there wasn't like an official report or anything, so.
So nothing official from the state.
Right.
At that point.
I mean, correct. They provide verbal warnings, which we are very considerate of. I would say that all people who have their facilities inspection, having a verbal warning and time to get things done would be great. So at that time, we contacted our city maintenance department, who has to do repairs such as that. And it also part of this was noted that there are some divots in our epoxy. So we use a lot of tools, specifically one of those is like a cart that is heavy in metal and it holds our power washers. And so at some over the years, there will be small divots, but they can, same as the caulking and the explanation from the KDA is essentially it can't be cleaned very well. So debris can get inside of it. It's not a smooth surface that can be easily sanitized. And so that's the reason for the citation. And so the maintenance department put on their ticket. It's not exactly, city maintenance understanding the animal shelter and how many animals we have in and how we can repair it. And so they started thinking that they could do it kennel by kennel. So like as a kennel emptied, we could, the maintenance department would come out week by week and say, okay, well, what kennels are empty? And we'll try to get on that kennel this week, right? That wasn't really an effective manner. So we made revisions and suggestions and started shutting a kennel down at the time. Thankfully, at that point, we were doing okay on space, so it wasn't really affecting our population. But the caulking that they tried to utilize it wasn't a strong enough. It was still industrial grade. It just was cure time of like 24 hours or something like that, if I remember correctly. And so in that time, the kids Department of Ag came back out for a different complaint, I believe. And this was a month or two ago. What month is this? I apologize, guys. My memory's just tested. It was it would have been end of April, potentially. I can get the exact date for you. And her and I did a walkthrough. She did a full inspection of the thing. She was like, hey, these things aren't fixed yet, so I'm gonna put them on the official report. So she put them on the official report, at which point now the report says you have 30 days to remedy this issue. So we were working on
that, but the caulking that they were using wasn't able to even withstand a week's worth of what, we put it through every day. So it started already chipping and peeling, those kinds of things. So in additional meetings and conversations with the city maintenance department, we essentially discovered that the product that we need to use has to cure for about 7 days, both for the epoxy repair and for the type of caulking in between. And for that strong of a product, it's really best that there are no animals and that it's not getting wet or having moisture. And so, and realizing that situation, I contacted the KDA, explained the situation, explained trying to minimize the reduction in euthanasia, reduce capacity, and trying to figure out, how we can exist and come into compliance, and was awarded the 6-month extension.
I have a question.
Yes.
Captain Purcell, when was the last time there was caulk under those
That's
things?
a-
I've never have thought that there was any caulk at all.
It's always been there. It's just it's difficult to see. So you have you really have to get in there and look underneath each wall to be able to see that the caulking is in there.
6 minutes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, what?
No.
I mean,
Yeah, I just.
I'm trying to understand if this is even a reasonable thing for us to do. Right, because it feels like we've already had a 6-month period and then we have another 6-month period, so we are talking about a year. And while I understand the issue is about the closing in a bad time, I don't know that I can make a good case for 18 months after we were first notified.
Okay, so you were first notified in November, okay?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, but I think Ellen's saying we don't even want to start for 6 months.
That we're just not here.
Well, just.
That's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
maybe we have no leg to stand on.
And I agree with that. I did not know that this has been an ongoing issue for a while. I thought it was an issue that just has come up. And so you had not been told that you had to get it done, or you just verbally, but you were not on your inspection sheet? There was nothing on the inspection sheet that said you had to do that?
Not until April.
Not until April.
We could say it, no official notification till April.
I mean, I would say, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, last summer, they were not giving any forewarning. They were looking at things differently and differently than they ever had. And we're immediately writing up organizations, finding organizations all across the state. I think it actually started in February of this year, but it hit Wichita last summer. There has been a lot of feedback to the KDA, including our own settlement conference with the lawyer, with them, talking to them about if we don't know that you have a problem with this because you've let it go for 15 years and we don't know that this thing is not meeting your standard, we can't fix it. Honestly, I didn't expect them to change, but when they came back out for our December inspection, they said the exact words that we said to them at the settlement conference: how can we expect you to change something if we haven't told you about it yet? And told us that we had until the next inspection to get that fixed. And so it's a good thing, but unless you really talk to them about it, I don't think the way they communicated it to us within the inspection was not, this is gonna be on your next inspection report. It was like, oh, hey, that thing, you guys should look at that. It was after the inspection report when I was talking to our inspector and she said, yeah, if it's not fixed by next time, we're gonna write you up for it. So I don't doubt the communication. What we talked about our inspection, but I do not know how it was communicated to WAS. I would not be surprised if it was that kind of thing, like, oh, that could be a problem.
Like, yeah, because
So
I think what he's saying is
you're having the same situation with your kennels?
We had almost the exact same situation last year with our adoption kids, yeah.
And so I think what he's trying to say is that the KDA is, and what I heard from
Thank you.
your name has
Riley.
escaped me, thank you. Is that the KDA is listening. I understand it's been a tumultuous time in the last year, and that they are working to make improvements. And so my understanding is that likely when she showed up for her surprise inspection last November and mentioned these things verbally, it might have been a bit more casual and like as a heads up, but not, and that was what I took it from my report from my supervisors who were with her at that time. And it wasn't that they weren't trying to get it fixed, it's just, it's on every single kennel. And to the KDA's, like she said, working on making sure that we're giving credit where credit is due, every single line of caulking could be a violation. And instead, that could shut the whole shelter down, could have shut the whole shelter down immediately. And so they are working with us and giving us the time. Now, ideally, being able to understanding the severity of the caulking and how long it takes and having to shut the kennels down, if we could have this done in the winter months, that would be much better for animal lives. And so it's just it's just an unfortunate.
So did you fail a recent inspection?
We did not fail, these were just citations.
A citation?
Or I might not be using the right word, citation.
It's not a citation, it's just a note.
Violation. Yeah, like it's like some type of violation, like it's
a ding.
There you go. Unfortunately, it's a ding. And so it was essentially, it was the epoxy, like any of the divots that are the epoxy and this caulking, they put it as one whole one, which was very generous because like I said, they, per how the current site route and inspections are written, they could have shut us down for having cracked caulking.
Okay, so they actually were going to say that every single kennel, you would be fined for every single kennel that wasn't caulked.
They have the capability to do it, is what I'm saying, and they did not, which I'm grateful for.
And they did not.
They would rarely go to that extent, but if you,
They already did that on the,
They actually did that already.
yes, they did that on the cat situation. Yes, that's why it was such a huge amount. And then what it is every cat cage that did not have a second level, they were fined a huge amount for every single cage that had that. So, yes, they can have to go. Okay, so what do you guys think then? I mean, am I just?
If they just have the official notice in April, I think we should probably, because more animals probably will.
Say that again.
Because since they just received the official notification in April, I think we should. Because it's gonna affect the welfare of the animals.
I think if we say it correctly, or we each individual, I'm gonna probably write my own letter, but I think that we can can you think and can you realize what you're doing and how many animals are gonna be possibly put to sleep that don't have to, because we're having to close down half our kennels, or how many animals are not gonna be able to get off the street because we won't have spaces for them. And I'm not saying, and just saying it would be nice if you could, if you could do that. Now, I did not realize, from what I understood, there was no caulking under those.
I also, when I first heard about the project verbally before I was able to do the inspection myself, I also thought there was a caulking, because that's how I thought it just was under, but it is there.
And that's what I told you, when I power washed, I'd see the water go under.
But that's just because in some of the kennels, the caulking had degraded so much that there just was not caulking.
Okay, but there was caulking to begin with, and when the shelter was built?
Yes. And that's why, like, many of the kennels in the run, or in the hall, for example, like, maybe the first two don't have caulking, some have some degraded caulking, some have their full caulking left. It's just a mixed bag.
Aaron, real quick, are we getting any closer to getting licenses and rabies shots when the pets are adopted?
There are some barriers. I'd be happy to address it at the next meeting.
George was still on. We need, because we're short on time, we need to have who we need to send a letter to, okay? It would be would it go to Sasha Thompson?
Sasha is the AFI program director. She reports directly to Dr. Justin Smith, who is the animal health commissioner, and it's under his authority which she operates. And then Secretary Mike Beam is the Secretary of Agriculture.
Who's the secretary of that?
We sent
Mike.
copies to each one of them.
Yeah, you can CC them all on CC line.
Just call it Todd.
Okay, thank you.
Not sure how you wanna proceed. You either have to end your meeting or you have to ask for more time.
I'm gonna make a motion for 10 more minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. We're all right, I think that you had a good, good suggestion that we write letters, but we also include Justice Smith.
Now that
Mike
we
Beam.
now know the problem and the extent of the problem, when it was really brought to your attention that it was a citationable, dingable offense, and then, you've gotta have some reasonable amount of time to get this thing fixed. Or at least show that you're moving along, you've got a contractor, you've got proper materials now, that sort of thing. I would think that it should be extended in a reasonable sort of way. 6 months,
just so extend it, so
I
do
think
we
what
get
we're
through
saying
the
is we're asking for,
we're going to extend it into a period of time where it's less likely that it's gonna result in the euthanasia of more animals, more dogs.
Oh, that's a good idea, that's a good
our
way.
6 month, current 6 month extension is to complete the work. We're asking for a 6 month extension to start to begin the work,
Yes.
right?
Begin the work.
And I like that it would be,
Well, that's really what's gonna happen, right? We're gonna have less capacity and gonna have to put more dogs there.
put them down faster,
Yeah,
not give them a chance to get out. And also
suppose you could appeal to them, publishers too, once.
not be able to, because we're not an admission shelter, so.
So to begin in November?
Yeah, so is there a better time for this to happen? When can what's a reasonable compromise?
Traditionally, October is the highest month for intakes in the fall, and then it drops off in November and December.
Okay, so November.
Yeah, so we would typically stay lower on intakes November, December, January, and February.
How long is this supposed to take to fix?
Well, so this, part of that depends on how many empty kennels you have at one time, or how many empty halls, because it can't have exposure to moisture, and with the chemicals, we shouldn't have any.
How many are we talking about?
There, so we have, in each hallway, we have either 9 or 11 kennels, depending upon which hallway it is. And suddenly my math escaped me, so A through H is our general population.
So you take out one hallway at a time, right?
So
That's what I need.
Yeah, the contractor didn't love just doing one hallway at a time, so we were able to get to do 2 hallways at a time, just because that's what we could negotiate. And that's where we got our proposed schedule of about 4.5 months, with a month or so for extenuating circumstances.
Can you appeal to them to do a few at a time?
Appeal to who?
The contractor.
They would like to do more at a time.
Right,
It's just-
but we can't do that.
Right.
So
And you
is it
can't do
contractor,
the
is it a city
partial.
contractor, is that who it is?
I'm sorry?
Is it a city contractor, where'd you get the contract?
I met with the city maintenance department, and they had brought in a contractor that does the stuff that they had worked with before, and then they they fast tracked the approval process and everything like that, because they knew that this was urgent and we needed to get it addressed.
And your
So that's the best we
initial,
can do.
and so your initial attempts were failures, but there was initial attempts.
Correct.
So that means that they were trying to do what they were supposed to do. And
I just
when
don't
did you
think that
start-
when they first started, they realized the undertaking in which it was. And then as we worked to speed up the process, the caulking that we were using started failing, and then realized that the maintenance department didn't have the resources, so they had to contract it out.
have something written?
I have a lot of notes, I don't have actual work, don't have.
It's not.
I think the points are, as you summarized, right, that, we have to close halls in the high points that will affect the welfare of dogs and the type of increasing euthanasia deaths. That we did in good faith try to do it through the city, but that lacked the understanding around the materials and the execution of it. So then we had to seek another contractor with better materials. And we have this time we have appointments to do that, but now we've realized that this is gonna be bad for
And two, initially they thought, what, 1 or 2 days?
Yeah, it takes a week.
And now it's gonna be a week to a week and a half. before it's cured. So there's that too.
So, how can we do this and still be with the open committee? I think what we can do is make a motion that, or have Susan write something out. No, I can't, I don't.
Probably something new.
Pardon?
Do we even need something like that?
No, we don't. We can just make a recommendation that, that members take the
Take the initiative.
initiative to do that. And, so this, make that.
Okay, well, I move that, that we as individual citizens, concerned citizens, compose and send a letter to the appropriate authorities to extend the, start date for the repairs needed at the animal shelter to prevent unnecessary and excessive euthanasia.
And stress on the community with dogs not being picked up.
Yeah.
Cause that is, especially with what we've had
Yeah.
with dogs.
Of course, you're not gonna quote that verbatim, but you know, you get the gist.
When you're making a
Is there a
motion.
second?
And I don't, honestly, do we even need to motion,
Oh, I guess
move it? Because I'm just now saying now, we've all internalized
Okay, we
information, we're gonna
recommend.
do it.
We recommend.
Yeah, we're gonna recommend.
Good, good.
And
We
then one
recommend
of
that
y'all
for
share
everybody.
that, whatever letter you do, one of y'all share it on your Facebook and we'll all copy it.
Okay, and if you guys can.
So I would like to ask
Copy.
a question, I mean, why did we wait 6 months to even start if we knew this was an issue? That we were going to have to address, why would we wait from November to April?
So that's what I was trying to explain, is we didn't wait, we were doing different things during that
That
time.
was all that stuff that were
And it
the,
just didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
She just happened-
made attempts.
Instead of coming back for like her annual inspection or however it works, they came back for a complaint. So now then they had to cite it because they had verbally mentioned it and typically would give 30 days to complete it. Instead, we asked for the sick piece.
Can I ask a question?
real quick.
Okay, relating to the contract you have with somebody to come in and do this work, because if it gets delayed, does that affect your contract?
I'm not sure, because the contract is with the city maintenance department, I'm not exactly sure how that works yet.
Okay, that might be a question to ask.
Yeah, this would be really dumb if we all write letters, but the city can't change this.
all right, the city can't change the contract, yeah.
Right. So can you let us know that?
Yes, I will find out and send an email.
Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
Susan, you second? All those in favor? I have just something to say to Emily, is this why we've had empty kennels and you've been working on them and we had to close them today?
Yes, that's why some of the hallways had been emptied and some were being full.
Holly and Diane, you know what you said? Okay, that's why we had empty kennels. Yeah.